13 to 14% of the population.
Yes,
about half of all prisoners are black.
Exactly.
So blacks commit more crimes than whites do. They commit more murders, they commit more arsons, they commit more kidnappings. For example, blacks are 13% of the population and they commit 58% of all the murders.
Okay. Let's talk about it. These are obviously racist claims, but I will respond to them as if Charlie Kirk were a reasonable person.
Black Americans are about 13 to 14% of the population.
Yes,
about half of all prisoners are black.
Wrong. Just 38% of America's prison population is black. That's according to the U.S. government. But it makes you wonder why Charlie feels the need to add an additional 12% to the black prison population. Could it be because his bigoted talking points only work if he exaggerates them? If Charlie were actually looking for the race that makes up half the prison population in the U.S., he'd look no further than white people at 57%.
Exactly.
So blacks commit more crimes than whites do.
Wrong. The word "so" is doing a lot of heavy lifting in that sentence.
So blacks commit more crimes.
He's saying "so" as in therefore, as in one could conclude, but Charlie knows he's lying. Even if he hadn't just lied about the black prison population, Charlie is smart enough to know that correlation does not equal causation, but he's hoping that you don't know that. So he deploys the word "so" to make you think he's coming to an obvious conclusion.
So blacks
Instead, he's making an illogical, racist leap. Charlie knows that we don't have usable data about who commits crimes. It's impossible to have that data since so many crimes go both unreported and or unsolved. Charlie knows that we only have data about arrests and convictions. I'll come back to that data in a moment. What's painfully obvious is that Charlie Kirk isn't interested in understanding the statistics he so carelessly misquotes. He's interested in making bad faith arguments. Something that...
Yeah, like he's a wannabe politician. What you mean? I'm not saying nothing against him. Like whatever you want to do, you do. But he's a wannabe politician. They don't deal in facts. They deal in lies. Most of them. And I don't even partake in none of this. And I can tell you that.
That becomes even more obvious in his next point.
Blacks are 13% of the population and they commit 58% of all the murders.
Wrong again, and loud this time. If Charlie were interested in honesty, he would have mentioned the other 1350 statistic. Yes, black people are about 13% of the population, but make up 53% of all criminal exonerations. In fact, black people make up 55% of all murder exonerations. Specifically, black people are more likely than any other group in this country to be convicted of crimes they did not commit. And then people like you have the nerve to parade these stats around as though they...
And that would be the first question out my mouth when people start saying shit like this. It's like, yo, did you not remember that they started locking people up for no reason? They didn't even do nothing. Like, you really can't count on stuff like that when you start saying things. You gotta get the facts. And the facts of the matter just may be that is a little skewed because some people's views are skewed, you know? But we can keep going.
Prove something. The reality is that you probably know these stats, but you leave them out on purpose because to bring that stat into this conversation would make some people think. And that's the last thing a person like you wants.
Blacks commit more crimes than whites do.
Okay, well, first of all, what he means by blacks commit more crimes is in fact that African Americans are more often convicted of committing crimes in the United States than any other racial demographic. Which is very different from what he said.
And now let me pause there right quick, Savannah, welcome. Because the when you hear the fucking truth, when you hear the shit, there's no reason to fight against it. And that be the weird part, because it's like, how are you, the other person who is saying all the nonsense, how are you so smart to be up there doing it, but you didn't get this simple thought? This is a simple thought if we're thinking. Like if we're coming to the conclusion of anything, this is a simple fucking thought to come to. On anybody's side, even the people who don't like, they can come to the same conclusion. But for some reason, but we're gonna keep going. Let me not keep them too long.
Said, all that indicates is that the so-called criminal justice system in the United States is primarily only effective in the selective investigation, prosecution, and conviction of African Americans and other so-called minorities, as opposed to investigating, prosecuting, and convicting white perpetrators. The statistics that he's citing are actually an evidence arguing racial bias in policing, in prosecution, and in trials. It's not an evidence of greater criminality along racial demographic lines, no. Rather, it's only the assignment of criminality that falls along racial lines. I mean, more than half of all violent crimes in the United States go unsolved, overwhelmingly the case in certain types of violent crimes. So we're not talking actually about a criminal justice system that works, that's actually effective, that's actually efficient, that actually does its job. What we have is a criminal justice system that disproportionately seems to only quote unquote work when the perpetrators are not white. African American victims of homicide, by the way, make up most of the victims of homicide cases that go unsolved. Whereas most homicide cases in which the victim is white, those get solved. In other words, crimes against white people are more likely to get solved than crimes against African American people or any other so-called minority group, a member of the global majority. And they're even more likely to get solved when the perpetrator of the crime happens to be African American. So in other words, if you're a white victim, you're more likely to get justice. And if you're a white perpetrator, you're more likely to escape justice. That's the system. And that's all that is evidenced by what he's saying. So when you look at the number of unsolved crimes, it's not unreasonable to assume that the, say, 60% or so of violent crimes in America that never get solved, that those are very possibly crimes committed by white people against African American people or against other so-called minority groups. So rather than saying blacks commit more crimes than anyone else in America, it would be more honest to say that no one who commits a crime in America is more likely to be punished for that crime than an African American. And in fact, it's also more likely for an African American person to be wrongfully convicted of a crime of which they are accused. And it's more likely for them to even be punished for that, even when they have been proven innocent. And you can look at the case right now of Marcellus Williams. So the statistics that he's citing actually only substantiate the belief that the so-called criminal justice system in the United States is a major component of what you can call a systematic domestic ethnic cleansing program in America.
Now, I ain't gonna let him go too much further now, because when you're right, goddammit. When you're right, you're right. Ain't really much I could say towards that. For me, yes, I should care about hearing shit like this. I should, but I personally don't, because I don't got a dog in the fight. Just leave me out of it, and we cool. I know I shouldn't be like that, but at the end of the day, I could sit here and try to be fucking Superman and get bat down. So I will play to my strength. I will definitely play to my strength. These are not my type of strength. It's not. Because it'd be weird to think. And that's why I say, yo, they have to figure out their own whatever the fuck that is, bro. Like, whatever that is, you got to figure that shit out. You got to. Because it's weird. Like, come on, think about it. Tell me how that is not weird. It's weird. The people who forgive everything that's done to them, well, the people who forgive a lot of shit that's done to them, and the ones who doing the shit, how is that not weird? It's like they keep forgiving, they keep saying no, keep letting it slide. Like, I seen a video, the chick that off dude in his house, the parents get, oh, I believe that she didn't mean to. Right after the case was done, she's like, oh, I want to go and try to get less time. What? You did something, the family forgave you, you got pled guilty to it. Not that you pled guilty, and then you still try to get less time, and it just be weird to think about. Let me end this video. I already kept y'all here for long enough. I'm trying to work on new different videos. I thought I had something, but they kept taking them down, so I gotta switch around. Hopefully y'all like this one.